Hello, it is April 5th at 9:02 a.m., and it is time for the fourth edition of I Read the Clermont Sun So You Don't Have to. This is going to be the Thursday, April 3rd edition. So the press date for this, the content date submission, if it's still the way it used to be, would have been on April 1st. And the paper becomes available on Thursday or Friday and is the hub of information for Clermont County. So let's get right into it and look at the Clermont Sun this week, the April 3rd edition. So I read it so you don't have to. It's as usual, 14 pages. And then just stay tuned if you're bored or find it not useful information. I do have the Jungle Gyms ad at the end, which is the potentially best part of the Clermont Sun. Okay, so let's get right into it. I just want to point out that I just wish somebody at the Clermont Sun would change this Twitter logo to be the X logo. It's been a long time. It's time to make that change. Okay, now let's go down here and see the headline stories. So on the left side is a Megan Alley story. She normally in the last 4 weeks has had two stories. She's the reporter. 2 stories a week, and then everything else is submitted content and work by people like Jake Dowling, the sports guy. I believe in this edition, she only has 1 story, but it's a hot one on this charges filed in Pierce Township prostitution sting. So, at the Comfort Zone Massage. And I guess I know when you drive in the Pierce Point kind of area, was some sort of like I think it was on the side of the street that is the where the theater is or was. But any event, so here you go. One thing about this that would be interesting is, they're starting this ridiculous that they can charge you $750 plus for getting any body cam video in a ridiculous piece of legislation that makes no sense. They could have had a nominal fee for getting body cam video, like, $50, let's say, that would have cut down on all of the just people requesting it, burdening the system. At least put that on it. But they jump from free to at least it could be $750, and they can, if you request body cam, they can slow walk it and make sure that you get charged. Like I'm sure somebody like me in a lot of cases would get charged $750 if I ordered it, because they would just really take a long time because they could charge you for their time. But here's my point. That takes effect on April 9th. So somebody should go make a request to the sheriff's office and Pierce Township Police for all the body cam footage of the prostitution ring raid, prostitution sting raid. That would be quite a good set of body cam to have. Maybe if the Sun was more kind of on it, they would do that, right? And then put it on their Sun page to have the body cam, which then will be redacted as appropriate. But I'm sure a lot of people would go to the page to watch the body cam video of the prostitution sting. Any event, so that's one thing. Then the other big thing is these are the top stories in Clermont County for this period ending April 1st. It would have been is Governor DeWine signs $11 billion transportation budget submitted by the Office of Governor DeWine, because the Clermont Sun is Pravda. Okay, it is almost entirely government people writing articles about themselves. So it is not legitimate. It doesn't have any introspection whatsoever. And I look at this article, and I tune out on a lot of these articles because they're just press releases that get reprinted. And Megan and whoever's at the Sun, wouldn't it be kind of easy to take, just even if you're lazy and you don't have the staff because you don't sell hardly any papers, so there's no money, to take these press releases and just go ask a couple questions. Go to Jean Schmidt and ask her questions. Go to Adam Bird, ask questions about what is covered, what are we getting in Clermont County? How does this bill affect Clermont County? You could just put a little content in here and then say, submitted by, Office of Governor Mike DeWine, with additional content from the Clermont Sun. I mean, just use them, just show some initiative other than just laying out articles that have no, I'm assuming this transportation budget has stuff in there for Clermont County, but you wouldn't know it because the article here is just kind of a generic thing, and they could make it better by just add a little bit. All right, then we got another Goshen Schools. Goshen Schools is, I guess, constantly submit stuff. So they honor local business partners. That's our top front page story. County to recognize Child Abuse Prevention Month. This is one of your typical, the county having a ceremony at the commissioners meeting where they give a certificate to somebody that works for the government to about some issue that none of us know about, other than I guess if we get the Clermont Sun and know that this is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Okay, so the other months, clear, you can go ahead and abuse the kids, but this is the prevention month. So try to keep it under control in April. In April, we're trying to do a little bit less abusing of the children. All right, and then we've got Village of Batavia swears in new police chief Eric Williams. Again, submitted by Village of Batavia. So your news in the Clermont Sun is all press releases, and then basically what's the news is defined by who submits the press releases. So you know, I'm betting you go to take any of the big police departments like Union Township or Miami Township, and you went to them every week, Megan, and said, "Hey, any big thing this past week?" They probably all got something, you know, that would be something that would be newsworthy. And I'm all for this swearing-in ceremony. I think that Eric Williams will be a huge improvement in Batavia, but I just think that, you know, the news here is so sloppy and so lazy. By the way, the front page again here, we've got a little less content of ads. Usually about 40% of the front page of the paper is advertising. This time it's only maybe about what, you know, 30, 25 or 30% is advertising. So that's page one of the Clermont Sun. Let's keep going and see what kind of, you know, the press releases and filler, the press releases and filler, you know, is we have, you know, this day in history again, April 3rd, which by the way, nobody, I guess pretty much nobody would get this on April 3rd, this paper, but, you know, so it's, but it's, you know, day in history, a toolkit, a wellness policy toolkit. And there's a lot, some of these submitted things are basically kind of like USAID type organizations that are politically motivated, claiming to do something good for the people or good for the world. So I don't really know about this, but it's whatever the hell this article is. And then it's like, okay, why is this even news? Okay. And it's talking about Cincinnati public schools. Okay. You know, who cares? We live in Clermont County. But then it looks like, look where I highlighted in yellow, green umbrella, the Tri-States Regional Climate Collaborative leads cross-sector collaboration to accelerate climate action in greater Cincinnati. This basically says these people are fucktards, okay? And they should not be allowed near our kids. These are political activists that are trying to basically brainwash our kids. And so Cynthia Walters, whoever the hell you are, stay the fuck out of Clermont County. We don't need it. We don't need your political activism posing as a wellness policy toolkit. Probably the wellness policy is, let's tell you kids how you're all going to die from climate change and floods while Barack Obama buys waterfront properties that apparently aren't going to get flooded by the flood that he's saying is going to happen. Okay, so that's the that's basically, there's some carry-on stories here, some more advertising, some more of this Goshen story, and that's page 2. Okay, so let's go page 3. You've got some veteran content. Pretty much every episode, every edition. If you were interested in just veteran events like breakfasts and stuff like this, or that kind of stuff, there's always some articles about that stuff that's submitted by the veterans organizations. So I think those things are important. Those are good, but I'm sure, you know, we could have article. Why doesn't everybody has a fish fry submit articles about their fish fry? Okay, St. Veronica fish fry, whoever fish fry, and have that be the news. What I'm pointing up is that there's no discernment here. There's just, I'm not saying it's not good stuff. I'm just saying this is just filler, and it's whatever somebody submitted takes up the pages. You got your Sudoku. You know, part of this too is, I think a good local newspaper would have content that you generally cannot get elsewhere. And I'm going to pop back, you know, a page here real quick. You know, in this Today in History, you know, I can get that on the internet for every day. I can get a calendar that does that. I don't need the Clermont Sun to be doing that. I'm not, you know, you don't need to get a subscription or to pick up a copy at the newsstand of the Clermont Sun for that content. You need content that is actually interesting and relevant to Clermont County news. Hey, they could do a Doge-like thing where they send out emails to the political leaders in all the areas in Clermont County and ask them every week, hey, if we were going to put something about your accomplishments or your township, village, or county accomplishment, what would you have us put? They could just do that. And then that page alone, a page of what these people say, oh, who's doing that? Oh, I'm doing that. Okay. So I'm doing that, and the politicians refuse to respond. Imagine a huge blank page in the paper saying, hey, here's all the responses from our county commissioners on what they accomplished in the last week, and it's blank. That's, by the way, a very effective journalistic technique, and helps to cut the arrogance of politicians that don't think that they have any accountability. Okay, so let's go. Let's keep going here. So that was this page 3. You got your puzzles and stuff like this on here. Oop. Then we get the editorial page. I always, very opinionated, so I like to focus on see what's on the editorial page. And then, of course, there's this thing about West Clermont. There's a West Clermont article here it says a teacher, Brandy Carlton. And at first I start reading, oh, there's going to be something about this levy or something like this. Actually, pretty good little article about how West Clermont is using the 7 Habits of Very Effective People by Stephen Covey to try to work with kids, use that kind of thing. And my kid went to West Clermont for 2 years, and during that time had a class on financial management that was based on Dave Ramsey principles, if you know who that is. So this looks like good stuff, and hopefully they're doing more of this, and hopefully other districts are doing this, using some of these tools that are not just coming from the educational world, like 7 Habits of Very Effective People, to help the kids, and Dave Ramsey type principles, stuff like that. Things also that are interesting. So if a kid gets into it, if they get into 7 Habits of Very Effective People, they can find lots of other resources in books. I'll throw this out, but it'd be a bridge too far. But if it was Obama, people would be good with this. Is hey, maybe a class, somebody. This will shock the educational system. Maybe they should have a Trump Art of the Deal, learning how to do business through Art of the Deal book. It's actually, that'd be great for kids. But I don't think a school is going to do that. And I actually wouldn't. I understand it because it's very politically charged that they wouldn't do that. I'm just making kind of a joke. Then we have our weekly John Plebusinsack article. Always about spending more money. John is, I don't know if John thinks he's a conservative, but John is a screaming liberal that wants the tit to just keep producing more and more and more and more and more and more and more money. Okay. And John, I would love to see you do an article ever about cutting spending, about staying out of forever wars, about how if we didn't spend 100 billion on Ukraine, we would have more money, a lower deficit. Okay. But everything is just about more money. This guy, I don't know if this guy gets paid by somebody to basically be a lobbyist for more money, but every article. So this is like, and every week he has an article. Why? Why does this guy have an article every week about something about more money? This is about that there's some sort of thing that's an offset on pensions. If you get money from this, it takes an offset to this, and that shouldn't be. And there's some bill that would let it get some bipartisan bill, which basically tells me, I don't think probably Thomas Massey's on this one, but maybe he is, but is probably a bunch of, kind of rhino-ish or uniparty people that just want to do these things, kind of like the way David Taylor just wants to spend money, doesn't really fight for anything that matters, that would be disruptive to the deep state or anything. But anyway, so this thing, I'm trying to remember because I've read this, what the thing is, but it's, $1,900 a month for 50,000 veterans. Okay. Let me get my calculator. So John wants this thing to pass so that we can spend, I think if I read this right, let me do the math. 1,900 times 50,000. Okay, that is 95 million. Okay, it's only 95 million. Why don't we just spend it? That's the attitude of these people. Just spend more money. Just spend more money. I don't see John proposing where we might be able to optimize or be more effective in spending in other areas to be able to free up money specifically from bucket A for bucket B here or anything like that. It's just always about more and more money. So basically, John, I think it's shameful that you're constantly, I'm all for veterans. I want veterans to be treated fairly. The best thing I want is for veterans after they've been a veteran to be able to come back, have highly productive lives and not need special assistance, right? so that when they come out of the military, they're highly successful people and on their own accord. Just like if they worked for such and such a let's say police department or even a company, that they're very successful people and they don't need, we need to reduce the dependency of veterans on government programs post being their service. I'd like to see write an article about that. How can we reduce the dependency of veterans on government money post their service, like that they're not living under bridges. They have skills and capabilities and are helped, that they have productive lives and jobs after their service, versus that they become a dependent class. That I'm sure, we have a welfare state and a lot of things, but I'm sure it has to highly bother somebody who was a veteran that then becomes homeless or a dependent class when they get back. And our heart goes out to those people, but I don't see solutions. And I don't think that's not going to be changed by whether we spend another $98 million on this. Okay. It's because you have to actually make the hard choices. All right. I'm going a little slow here, so I want to speed up. I got an article from Dylan Blevins, running for state representative for 62nd district. I'm all for Dylan. I've supported Dylan when he has run. I don't know who else is running. I would absolutely support Dylan over Gene Schmidt. And then another article. I think Megan Alley likes liberal stuff because his article about something else, you're going to lose something, some handout the tit's going to give you. You could lose it. And that's at the bottom of this page. Okay. Let me kind of speed up here because I feel like I'm going too slow and we want to get to the Jungle Gyms ad. Okay. We've got like this article, these contributing columnists that have nothing to do with Clermont County, this patent system. There's a about fixing the patent system. But this guy basically, I highlight who these people are. I think all these years there would have been he worked for Democrats. Okay, and it's something about the patent system, highly relevant to people reading the Clermont Sun. A lot of them are a lot of patent people, and they really focus on this. I mean, it's just a bunch of trash. Okay. The only kind of authentic to me, like the only authentic articles here are in the opinion section are the teacher, and Dylan. And then it's like a lot of play stuff. And whatever this vet guy is that gets an article every week about how we should spend more money. Okay. Now I didn't look at this, but my man, Jake Dowling, this guy does a fantastic job as far as I could tell. At least I'm not going to speak to the quality of it, but he's always filling up pages. Megan does like one article, and this Jake Dowling, he kicks ass. So this is a thing going through the sports. I know they had the schedules last week, and I criticized the layout of it. But man, look at this Jake, man. This whole page is like going through other than the ads at the bottom. Got some good pictures at the top. It's going through all the different baseball teams, I think it is largely here, of what their outlook is. And it's just the guy's doing it. I mean, he is doing it, and it's Clermont specific content. And hats off to Jake Dowling. And look at this whole other page, second page. So we're up to 2 pages. We have one article from the reporter Megan. We have 2 pages from Jake Dowling. Now we go a third page of sports content from Jake Dowling. I mean, if you were going to buy this paper, the sports content is where it's at. And it's funny, I'm not going to take any credit, but I criticized when first time I did this, I criticized that there weren't action photos of the sports. Now look at this, loaded with action photos, and then here's something on Glen Estee, West Clermont. I also criticized, like, you need to have more of an even spread there, especially if you were the Sun and you own the Sun, you would want to have people look at the articles for you want to sell more in the western side of the county where all the people live, which means you got to have some content on Milford, West Clermont, etc., that are the western side of the county. So that's page 8 in here, and then some softball stuff. I mean, Jake just really, here's another page 9, another page of Jake Dowling content. So let's go. It's got to end. He can't have more. It's like Trump, like keep winning. I can't win more. But look at this. Okay, Jake Dowling has 1, 2. Oop, fast. Let's go it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pages of content. 4 pages of content, and the reporter has 1 article. okay, about the prostitution ring. Then we have the payola, the USAID for these kind of papers, where the government has to put all their ads in here that nobody looks at, and but it finances the paper's continuing operations by all these little government ads. Okay, this is USAID, this is payola, this is why the paper has to be beholden to the government, because without these ads, the paper can't stay afloat. So it has to become a slave to the ads. Okay, now we're up to page 13. It's 14 pages, so we're almost done here. And so you've got like this stuff like, somebody got promoted at Merchants National Bank. This is what passes for news, okay? Somebody got promoted. And spring into reading, you can read. Did you know you could read at the Clermont Library, just in case you didn't know? Then there's an article about Terpstra being promoted, being made judge in Clermont County, municipal court judge, submitted by Office of Governor Mike DeWine. Here's another perfect example of why would you not, even if you're going to be press release based, take the press release and then go ask David Painter a question, go ask the other judges a question to make the article less of just a bullshit press release and make it into a little content that is local in that article, and then have a much better article. Megan, do you not get that a lot of times what you do is take a press release, add a few local insights by talking to a few people. Hopefully you have a Rolodex that has all these people on speed dial, so you can call them up and just get a quick comment. So when you're laying out the page, putting the Terpstra governor article in there, you can put a quote from David Painter, or the Sun talked to David Painter, or the Sun reached out for comment by so-and-so, okay? And then see what you and then make it a much better article. Then we've got something about OKI that nobody will care about that's reading this, about advanced air mobility thing, severe weather awareness week. This is enough. So we had severe weather awareness week, was a ceremony at the commissioners meeting. And I guess it's hopefully you were aware, because we had some severe weather. We had a tree blow over in our yard in the last week. I didn't even notice this, but tip 4, let's see what the tips are. I don't want to run long here, but the tip 1 is plan ahead, develop a strategy for emergencies. Tip 2 is make an emergency kit. That's a good one, I'll say. Prepare. Tip 3 is prepare your property. Yeah, I guess shit's going to blow away, fix it. Tip 4, stay away, stay alive. Okay. Tip 5, stay connected if inclement weather causes power. By the way, this is they could have done this in the commissioner meeting when they had the ceremony, and then they could have had a short, like a TikTok short, the media lady, stuff like this that has the 5 key tips with David Painter and the Painterettes maybe singing out the 5 key tips, and then actually get attention on it versus just some ceremony to hand out a certificate to a government employee. Okay. So I didn't mean to stop too much on there. And then can you believe it? Can you believe it? Another Jake Dowling article. So this guy, he's up to like half the damn papers written by Jake Dowling. Somebody named top swimmer diver in the thing. And this must be, I thought this was these are usually only 14 pages, but maybe this one's bigger or something. Yeah, so this is bigger than 14 pages. So I'm on page 15 right now. You have Matt's take. It's usually about the Reds or some local professional sports thing. Horoscopes. There's something you can't get on the internet, right? And then community calendar and more ads. And then the community calendar is just this very limited set of stuff. Okay. And I don't think, let's see if it's on here. Let's go down here. If you look at it too, it's not, the community calendar, is it in? It doesn't, I'm not sure that it's in or maybe it is in date order, but it's not clear, like, what to do each day. But maybe it is in date order. Yeah, May 28th, May 29th. Okay, but it's a very limited set of stuff. Okay, so that is page 16. And now we're on to the Jungle Gyms ad. So I got 4 minutes left to cover the Jungle Gyms ad. It's super exciting. Everybody loves. This is the best part of the Sun. Just so you know, the digital Sun does not include the Jungle Gyms ad, which is an outrage. Okay, it's an outrage. You can buy the physical Sun for $1.50 at the Walmart. I'm assuming at Jungle Gym, since they have ads in there. And you used to be able to get it at Meijer, and you can get it at the gas station by First Baptist Church on Old State Route 74. So there's some places you can buy the physical paper, but you can also get the Jungle Gyms ad for free, both online and at Jungle Gyms. So, but I love the Jungle Gyms ad. I love Jungle Gyms, and nobody sponsors this show, but I want to make sure to highlight Jungle Gym. Let's see if we can get the jungle music. There we go. Got the jungle gym music playing. Okay, and let's see what we're missing. Again, Jungle Gyms always has a lot of meats, and I'm not a knowledgeable person about meats. Oh, 2 for $7, Big Red Smokies. That's saving some good money on those. But they obviously Jungle Gyms has a great assortment of meats and seafood and stuff like this. I'm just not well versed on what the right prices are for them. But head out to Jungle Gyms to get this kind of stuff. Everybody knows Jungle Gyms is where you go for any specialty thing you need, and meats and stuff like this of high quality. There's a Jungle Gym podcast. Okay, so I didn't know about this. There's a Jungle Gym podcast that you can, I guess, new episode every Wednesday. And look at this. By the way, boneless beef ribeye steak, $22.99. Wow, I'm glad I don't know about prices of meats. $22.99 a pound. Wow, it must be good stuff. Fresh seafood, got it all here. Vegetables, fruits, down here, cheese balls, lots of great stuff at Jungle Gyms. And here's something I noticed when I went through this is I didn't even know that Wendy's, you could buy cans of Wendy's chili, or, I didn't even know, so maybe next time I'm at Jungle Gyms, I'll get a can or two of Wendy's chili to see what that's like. How much it's like what you get at the restaurant and so forth. I like Wendy's chili, so I'm positive towards that. Some homemade brand ice cream, $4.99. I think that's a pretty good deal on homemade brand United Dairy Farmers ice cream. And let's see, cinnamon rolls. Who doesn't love cinnamon rolls? And I love blueberry muffins. So $5.99 for 4 fresh baked blueberry muffins. That's a great deal. And then you got your little bit of booze and wine stuff that's usually on the last page. I'm almost at the end. The last page of the Jungle Gyms ad. If you're a drinker, you want to open the end, go right to the back, because the back bottom usually is where the alcohol stuff is. Look at this Mexican Coca-Cola. You can't get that. I don't think you can get that at Walmart or Meijer. Maybe you'll be able to get the right sugar or the better ingredients someday in the U.S. because of Bobby Kennedy. But you got all these Hispanic, Asian, European. Only Jungle Gyms has this kind of great selection of stuff out there. It's why people travel from far and wide to go to Jungle Gyms. And then you got some toys and collectibles. They have a lot of dog toys and stuff like that. If you go in there, you can have a beer and relax while you're doing your shopping. There's a bar in the back. And if you've never, I can't believe people haven't been to Jungle Gyms, but if you haven't, if you go in the back door, like where the old Cheeseburger in Paradise sign is, that takes you right into the alcohol and beer section. Don't ask me how I know that, but that's where you go in if you're going to the liquor store or beer or stuff like that. You can get carts there and everything. And I like going in that way because you can pick up a beer at the bar and then shop with it your beer, and with the carts having built-in beer holders. You can also get your Dora beers there if you want to go drink out in the parking lot or walk up Rape Trail to the Civic Center. And then you've got these other things, whiskey, sour drinks, wines down here. So that's the Jungle Gyms ad, and that is really, the highlights of the Clermont Sun. I read it so you don't have to. And so thank you guys for tuning in this week to see the Clermont Sun. And you saw my tips for Megan. Take the press releases and add something local to them to make them a more of an interesting story. See how much I know you have to fill it with filler because you don't have any staff, but see how you can get rid of all of the crap stuff that nobody really needs here. The placed articles about some environmental group trying to brainwash kids and stuff like this. That's bullshit. We don't need that. And then Jake Dowling, he should get a raise because he's writing half the dang paper. And Megan, I think you should up your quota. You dropped a 1 article, I think, this week, but to 3 articles. Just do 3 articles that are original content for Clermont County. That's every couple of days, 1 article. And maybe start getting a network to reach out to different municipalities and stuff to ask them routinely, what this week is a big development for you, to try to prod getting better and more interesting news for the community than a bunch of place stuff. All right, so that is the it for